rate of 36%. We look at County Public Service Board. Honorable Speaker, the revised estimates for the County Public Service Board was 68,514,909 Kenya shillings. The actual expenditure for the period under review was 11,635,757 Kenya shillings. This points an absorption rate of 17%. We look at the County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the revised estimates for the County Assembly was 1,230,776,339 Kenya shillings. The actual expenditure of the period under review was 950,632,254 Kenya shillings. This points an absorption rate of 77%. We look at the committee's observations. Honorable Speaker, the committee analyzed the CBROP and drew the following observations. 1. Some revenue streams underperformed, such as market fee streams, water sales, tourism, and house rent. 2. The revenue stream termed as miscellaneous, which had a collection of 588,433 Kenya shillings, 588,433 Kenya shillings against a target of 9,379,851.57 Kenya shillings, did not have a breakdown of the detailed sources. 3. Some county revenue targets were unrealistic. The revenue stream on court fines had a projection of a total collection of 222,795.82 Kenya shillings. It is observed that nothing was collected during that year. The committee observed that the criteria of setting some targets was questionable. 4. Some revenue streams recorded excellent performance of over 100%, such as cess, enforcement management, slaughterhouse, bus parks, and quarries. 5. The total recurrent expenditure of 8.55 billion Kenya shillings comprised of 5.86 billion Kenya shillings, which is a 68.4%, incurred on personnel emoluments, and 2.70 billion Kenya shillings, which is a 31.6%, on operations and maintenance. Expenditure on personnel emoluments represented an increase of 21.1% compared to fiscal year 2017-2018, when the county spent 4.83 billion Kenya shillings and was at 50.2% of total expenditure. In fiscal year 2018-2019, contrary to the fiscal responsibility principles. 6. The county failed to absorb all budgeted funds. Some departments underutilized their budget funds. Such departments include decentralized units, which had an absorption rate of 23%, agriculture with an absorption rate of 39%, health with 23%, education with 29%, and tourism with an absorption rate of 36%. 7. The county treasury authorized expenditures beyond the budgetary allocations in the Department of ICT and Labor. 8. The CBROP does not show departmental breakdown of recurrent and development expenditure. 9. The Department of Public Service, Labor and ICT had the highest absorption rate of recurrent expenditure to the total budget of 945%. This is because all personnel emoluments are irregularly charged to the department. Honorable Speaker, this is against Article 207, Sub-Article 2B of the Constitution of Kenya of 2010. 10. The total development expenditure represented 16.2% of the annual development budget, which is contrary to Section 107 of PFM Act of 2012, which stipulates a minimum of 30% of the total expenditure. Committee recommendations. Honorable Speaker, the committee recommended as follows: that 1, the county government should adhere to the fiscal responsibility principles set out in Section 107 of PFM Act and corresponding regulations by achieving a minimum of 30% development expenditure and a maximum of 35% on personnel emoluments. 2, the increase by 1 billion incurred on personnel emolument indicates lack of controls of the ballooning wage bill, which the committee recommends measure to be put in place to control further increment. 3, expenditure on wages and salaries should be posted to respective departments' vote as stated in the budget. 4, the department Departments should not budget and spend below average absorption, as it implicates underperformance and budgeting of funds which are not required in that department. The executive should put measures in place to ensure budget allocation runs concurrently with expenditure. 5. The revenue stream termed as miscellaneous should have a breakdown to show the details of what it entails. 6. The county treasury should develop a criteria of setting realistic revenue targets to avoid the witnessed scenario in fiscal year 2018-2019. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, in comparing the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget with the previous period, that is fiscal year 2017-2018, it is notable that absorption rates in the development vote declined. The county on-source revenue increased by 21.75%. It is expected that the county will achieve its revenue target for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Finally, there is need for the county to undertake impact evaluation in order to assess if higher rate of project implementation translates to realization of county goals and objectives. Acknowledgement. Honorable Speaker, the Budget and Appropriation Committee is grateful to the Office of the Speaker and that of the Clerk to the County Assembly for facilitating the committee to undertake its mandate. I wish to express my appreciation to the honorable members of this committee who sacrificed their time to participate in the meetings and in preparation of this report. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore my privilege on behalf of the Budget and Appropriation Committee to table the report on County Budget Review and Outlook paper in this Honorable House for consideration and adoption. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dominic Ndambuki, Chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House does approve and adopts the report of the Committee on Budget and Appropriation on the County Budget Review and Outlook paper. Honorable members, you may debate on this motion. Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me start by congratulating the Committee on Budget and the chairmanship of Dominic Ndambuki for the work they have done well on showing this House how the money has been spent and how they have been allocated. Honorable Speaker, my concern will be on this Department of Public Service, Labor and ICT. Honorable Speaker, when you go to page 9, number 9, you find that this department has a total budget of 945.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Moffat Maitha.
Mr. Speaker, one honorable member continues to cough loudly in this chamber when we know there is that coronavirus virus. Mr. Speaker, can you give her time to go out and cough? And then when she's settled, she comes back, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Moffat Maitha, I hear your sentiments, but it is important to note that as far as we know, coronavirus is not yet in our country. And an honorable member, if an honorable member has a cold you cannot hide. You have to keep coughing. You even hear me coughing from up here. So we'll excuse the member because I think it's just a cold. But I like the, yeah, you're broken the ice. Thank you. You may proceed, Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, our senior Honorable Maitha, and don't fear. Because he said don't fear death, because you will die. And those who are dead, they don't fear death. Honorable Speaker, I was drawing attention to this house on page 9. This is the department, number 9, the Department of Public Service, Labor and ICT. When you look at that, Honorable Speaker, and the house, you can see the total budget of 9.45%. Honorable Speaker, my concern on this area is, I know this is where the area where they pay thoroughly. This is the area where they pay monies for the retirement. But Honorable Speaker, my concern is, in our budget, we don't put, we have workers in different departments, Honorable Speaker. We have departments which have actually, where we have workers working on the departments. My concern is when we put such a kind of money, such a percentage on one department, this is against the budget. Honorable Speaker, this House should consider that the departments get their salaries and also post their salaries independently, not one department to be given all this money to spend. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the general observation of the budget, you can find out the committee has indicated that some of the departments and some of the money we have put in the departments are not being fully utilized. You find the performance, for example, total development expenditure represented on number 10, 16.2% of the annual development budget, which is contrary to section 107 of the BVM Act 2012, which stipulates a minimum of 30% of the total expenditure. Honorable Speaker, this means that we have put some money in departments which could be maybe they are a lot, or the departments are not utilizing the budget very well. So it is for this House, Honorable Speaker, to make sure that if we allocate money to any department, there should be, they should use the money fully to achieve what this House has put in place. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is on page 10, number 2, the ballooning wage bill, which the committee recommends measure should be put on place to control further increment. Honorable Speaker, every year we pass budget in this House, we complain about the ballooning wage bill, which up to today, Honorable Speaker, you can see there was an increment of 1 billion. Honorable Speaker, if this House is not going to put measure and then be strong, this money which we normally receive from central government could be utilized on paying the salaries only. Because we are talking about 1 billion increment. So when you talk about 1 billion increment, that means also the money for development will be affected. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is for this House and everybody to understand that we have, we have a wage bill which is actually consuming our development money. It is okay, we have, Honorable Speaker, we have put now the Public Service Board in place, which I think they are going to deal with the ghost workers, and also to deal and advise the government very well that the departments should be posting their salaries in their departments, not to be given, to be put in central department like ICT and the labor. That is where we lose money, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, with those of your remarks, I recommend that this House should be vigilant on the coming budget cycle. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Majority Leader. Honorable Thomas Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Thomas Mutinda, Member of County Assembly, Wamonyo Ward. I would like to start by thanking the Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee for this report. Chair, I'm a member of this committee, and let me say, Honorable Chair, that it's important that as a house, we see that we improve the situations of this county and leave them better than we found it. Because, Mr. Speaker, when you see this report, it shows that we are paying 70% or spending 70% to implement 16%. While initially, and ordinarily, it shouldn't be we use 70% to implement 30% on development at minimum. Now we are going below the required standards. Now, the worrying thing here, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, is this. Even when it's 16% for a certain financial year, you don't see an improvement in the following year. For example, this year now, we have not started doing any development. We are only 3-4 months down the line, and we have not started doing anything. So we expect to underperform, to perform even in below the 16%, continuing to pay 70% to get 10%. Now, the question is, where are we? Are we leaving this place better than we found it, or we are leaving it worse than we found it, Mr. Speaker? So I think we have to start doing things differently, and this Honorable House should start working as if it is under performance contract with its relevant departments, Mr. Speaker. If it's our committee on roads or our committee on agriculture or whichever sectoral committee, it should hold its accounting officers to account. They should implement their budgets fully so that we don't have a situation where we are just paying ourselves, we are paying staff, and nothing good is coming up. So, Mr. Speaker, I think something should be done. And when you check on this report, and we'll see the observations which we saw, like the area of miscellaneous income on the revenue streams. Mr. Speaker, miscellaneous incomes of 9 million, targeted 9 million. If we have such a revenue expected, then that should have a revenue stream, which should be clear, if that's the target. So some of these things should be coming clear, Mr. Speaker, so that we can see how we are going on this thing. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, is on the issue of the salaries be channeled through the ICT and Labor Department. Mr. Speaker, when we are doing budget in this house, the approvals we make is not just something to be taken for granted. If anything has been passed in a certain department, let it be spent there. And if the controller of budget is doing to the contrary, then this is a house of authority. Honorable Speaker, I think it's the high time that controller of budget is called here and explains why these things are happening this way. And if need be, then other government agencies are involved so that we may see how we can go about these processes. Mr. Speaker, a lot is here in the report. And also, Mr. Speaker, there's the issue of the 16%. That 16%, if it's going below the mandated 30%, then I think we have to study what should be done, what next step should be taken. Because we cannot be here, be paid salaries from public coffers and performing this poorly, Mr. Speaker. So, with those few remarks, I stop there and hope that very soon we'll see this Honorable House taking stand measures against officers who are not ready to assist our people. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Moses.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for granting me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I thank the Budget Committee under the stewardship of Honorable Ndambuki for great job they have done. Honorable Speaker, I think our main objective is to have this county government of Machakos ran efficiently, and the impact should be felt on the ground, Honorable Speaker. It's on this note, Honorable Speaker, though I think the communication is yet to reach, that I must thank His Excellency, the Governor, for the reshuffles he has done. Because, Honorable Speaker, time and time again we have been saying we need those people who have been put in charge to serve the residents of Machakos to serve efficiently, Honorable Speaker. We have been complaining that some are very much inefficient, and I thank him for taking concern and acting. And this should be also act as a warning to others who are still in office and they are not performing, that we have so many people outside there who are willing to serve our people, and the opportunities are there, Honorable Speaker. On the issue of the report which has been tabled, Honorable Speaker, I want to state that we should not have something called miscellaneous, Honorable Speaker. If an allocation can be done on an item, let us have a name of that item, Honorable Speaker, because miscellaneous is broad, and we don't need to, we can't state a department called miscellaneous. So whoever is in charge of this thing, even if it's 1 shilling, let it have a portfolio, Honorable Speaker. Again, it's very unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, to see salaries going through a certain department, Honorable Speaker. There is no need. Let salaries go through the departments which the employees are working. This issue of huge wage bill, ghost workers, I believe if we would streamline salaries to go through departments, if it's an accounting officer, he or she will tell the number of employees versus the number of money he or she is paying. So when it goes to through one department, even if it's ICT and I'm in charge of agriculture, I might not know who is being paid. So since I'm the one who is in charge of agriculture, let me be also in charge of my employees through salaries. So, Honorable Speaker, let's keep on upgrading the shortcomings which we have, and I believe we are heading somewhere. I was also not happy with the absorption rate, Honorable Speaker. Surely, if the money is there, why should the absorption rate be 20%, 30%? It should be 100%, Honorable Speaker, because for us to have that budget, definitely there was need for it. And if the amount of money has been allocated to these departments, let them utilize them, because, Honorable Speaker, the ground is hostile. People might not understand why we are not performing, and they are there blaming the honorable members, and yet we don't implement, as is to allocate funds and ensure the budgets are there on time. So when they reach the departments, let them work, because we need to fill services on the ground. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Katumo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. Firstly, my name is Justus Katumo, representing persons with disabilities nominated by Wiper Party and The Voice. Honorable Speaker, I've gone through the report, much has been said, and I want to join my colleagues in thanking His Excellency the Governor for making a very bold move. Actually, I think the County Assembly is doing a lot. We have done excellently, but I think the other arm is continually failing us so much. Now, when you look, especially, you look at the money that we give to the departments and how they use the money, it leaves a lot to be desired. Actually, I was looking at page 8, and where you find in the department health and emergency services, the absorption rate is 23%. Then you go to roads, 51%. You can go to education, 29%. Then, of course, you can go even to 17, County Public Service Board. And, of course, the mandate, we know the mandate of these departments. And I've noted with a lot of concern, especially when we try to interact with the CEOs and the CECs. Most of them even don't know whether they have an allocation and how much. Others, of course, I'm really surprised because others even don't know the acts on which they should use to implement and do the projects. And there are our executive members that we anticipate they are going to bring development and the projects. And therefore, I think, having said much, something has to be done on the other side. We need people who are competent, people who know their work, and people who can implement. Actually, we are in March. We have started the budget cycle, but we are not told how much has been spent. We are not seeing anything. And sometimes we want to blame the governor and others. But I think the report is very clear. The various departments are not working. Actually, I think the message that I got, that the governor has done some reshuffle. He has suspended. He has also sacked others. That's good news, telling us that there is a lot of incompetence on the other side. Actually, last week we interrogated a CEO who did not know how much we gave them. You see, they didn't know what projects they are supposed to undertake, you know. And it's very surprising. We continue to allocate money. We continue to interrogate them. We continue to make budgets. And then we expect results. They are not coming. They will not come. And therefore, I think going forward, we should, on a very serious note, engage the executive, and especially our governor, to make sure that we have the right people in the office so that we don't lose money. Actually, as Honorable Mitaz said, the ground is becoming very hostile. There are so many questions that are being put across we cannot answer. My constituency, we have not received a single shilling, you know, since we began this assembly. And we have been allocating money. And therefore, falls in the Department of Education, Youth and Social Welfare. And when you see the absorption rate, 29%, means my people with disabilities did not get anything. And therefore, I don't feel comfortable. Continue to serve, then people are not working on the other side. Continue to lobby the assembly to put money and to allocate money for our people, and they are not benefiting. And I think going forward, we need to have a serious talk. We need to have a serious chat, because I think somebody somewhere is failing us. Somebody somewhere is incompetent. Somebody somewhere should not be in office. I think Machakos County is one of the counties where we have gone to school, we understand things. And therefore, I think I support this report going forward, that, of course, changes have to be made for us to receive the benefits of what we plan for. Thank you, Madam, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Katumo. Honorable Mweni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Bendeta Mweni Musyoka, nominated by Wiper and the Vice in Kacha. I support the report of the budget. But, Mr. Speaker, we had some men here, young men, who were sacked by the executive. They were working in where they have music in the executive, and the music were paid. And they were sacked, unaware. They have almost 6 months. Their wives have gone. Mheshimiwa Nziva, I'm sending you to the people of executive. Even if you inform me, Mheshimiwa Nziva, I'm taking, I think you will have heard my message. You go and make these people
Mweni,
to
please,
be employed.
Honorable Mweni, kindly, when you are debating, address the chair. Don't address an honorable member directly, please. Address the chair. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, there are some young men who came to our committee. They were sacked. I wish the chair was here, because they were not paid. So I want the executive, because they have been sacked today, the governor is doing a good work. because the members who are not working, they are being sent home to be shown there are people outside there who can do better than them. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish those young men can be paid. That is what I'm asking, their salary to be paid by culture people, because tourism, we have given them the money. They can pay those people because they are suffering. They are crying there outside the gate, coming for us to help them. And we don't get the money to pay them. The money is in the executive. So I beg the Mheshimiwa Pombanjet to go and see where that money is for those young men. He is also a culture member. So I wish we can see the people who are suffering and the governor is doing his work. We help him. Thank you.
Honorable Kisini.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Robert Gesini, representing the people of the river. I want first to comment and to congratulate the Committee on Budget for such a noble report. Mr. Speaker, my concern is on number 3, observation, whereby there was a total omission of 222 million, which was budgeted as court fines. Where is this money? We see the enforcement has been taking people to court all over the county. Enforcement officers take people to court who are lawbreakers, and those people are taken to court. When they are taken to court, I think those are the court fines which should be charged. So to say that there was nothing which was achieved on that income is a wonder. So that is one of the concerns, Mr. Speaker. Again, I revisit number 9, whereby we have the ICT labor. It's a concern, Mr. Speaker, whereby all the salaries of all the departments are paid from one department. There is a vote for every ministry. There is a vote for every department. So we wonder, why is this money channeled to one department whereby there are various votes? And that is answered by the observation that, and I thank the committee for that, that observation, that expenditure on wages and salaries should be posted to respective departments. I wonder, Mr. Speaker, how does this budget pass if all the salaries are paid in one department and there are various votes? When we are presenting our budget, how does it pass to the various approvals? Hence, the loss of 1 billion incurred on personnel enrollments, the extra 1 billion, because there are no controls. Mr. Speaker, on the conclusion, we also talk of the last but one financial year, that is 2017-2018, whereby it was notable that observation rates in development vote declined. Then the 2018-2019 budget compared to 2017-2018 on development declined. That means, that is why we can see we are not development in that year. If it declined, where is that money? That money is going to salaries. And that is why we are told the department, the vote on the vote on development was not used well as compared to 2017-2018, whereby we could see some development. For that year, the development declined, and I think that money was used to pay salaries. Mr. Speaker, that is a concern, and that answers our question as to why we are not seeing development. It is going, I think it is going to the salaries. Mr. Speaker, when you compare to most of the departments, you see they have not utilized their votes. They had budgeted for this, they are spent for this. Where is that difference? We wonder, where is that difference? If we budgeted to use 1 million and we used 700,000, where is the difference? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kilo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm Honorable Daniel Kilo from Modesia. I want to be very brief. Number one, allow me to most sincerely thank the Budget Committee for the comprehensive report. And number two, I want also to join the honorable members in congratulating His Excellency the Governor for cracking the whip on the non-performing members of the executive. Allow me to most sincerely support the report and actually comment on the following as the members have said. Number one may fail to understand why the absorption rates are too low, and yet you have given these people or these executive money. Number three, I want to concur with the honorable members on the issue of the payment of wages. Let them be as per department so that we are able to follow. You know, some of the departments have inflated the wages. They have recruited more personnel than they can support. So let it be on departmental, as per department, that is. Then again, I want to plead with the chairs of the various committees. Let us also try to engage the executive so that we may question them on some issues. Like in education, you can see the absorption rate is just 29%. We give them finances for feeding program. It has never started. And actually, it was just yesterday when I was questioning the chief officer. We are yet to get the same because we wrote a letter to him to give us an explanation. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I support the report. Thank you.
Honorable Ndalana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Ndalana, nominated by WIPA. I'm supporting this motion. And Speaker, I want to put input in what Honorable Mweni has said. He has just sent Ziva, Honorable Jacqueline, to Governor. And I thank God this morning because Governor, he has opened his eyes, he has sacked his CEOs, some of ministers, and others, they have given notice. If they are not going to work well, they will go home. So I thank God because these people, they are messing our account, but our governor is faithful. Let us, all members of this assembly, support our governor, and when we see someone who is doing wrong with our resources, we give him information so that they can go home. We have many people who can support our account. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ndalana. Honorable Alice.
Kongole kamati ya bajeti na mipango. Kulingana na ripoti ambayo tumesomewa leo, tumeona kukosa kuwajibika kwa maafisa wa kaunti ya Machakos. Bwana Spika, ukizunguka katika kaunti yetu, kila mheshimiwa hapa ambaye amechaguliwa na wale tulioteuliwa, utatembea ukute kuna shida ya barabara, kuna shida ya soko kujengwa, na unashindwa ukiangalia na ukichunguza hiyo ripoti ambayo tumesomewa leo. Sisi tunatumia pesa kiwango kichache sana. Ni kwa nini? Ni kukosa kuwajibika. Sisi kama bunge, kama bajeti italetwa hapa, tutapitisha chini ya kamati tekelezi. Ni lazima wajibike, waone kwamba kama ni miradi, pesa tumepatiana, hizo pesa zimetumiwa. Bwana Spika, wakati wote nyumba huwa imeshikwa na guzo. Guzo kaunti ya Machakos ni Governor Alfred Mutua. Na hivi majuzi ameona kwamba yeye ni mtu ambaye anapenda maendeleo ifanywe haraka haraka. lakini wale ambao wamewaajiri kufanya hiyo kazi hawajibiki. Kama ni bajeti, sasa tumeanza mpango na ni wakati wa majira ya kutengeza bajeti yetu. Ni lazima kila afisa ambao atakuja katika bunge letu tujue kuwajibika kwake. Kwanza anataka pesa, anaelewa pesa tunampa za kufanya nini. Unapatia mtu pesa, akija aelewi, hata ukimuuliza bajeti yako ni pesa ngapi hajui. Kwamba umepatiwa kwa miradi gani hiyo bajeti mwenyewe hajui. Bwana Spika, tangu bunge la mwaka 2013 kumekuwa na shida ya gharama kubwa ya mishahara. Sisi kama bunge lililopita tulikuwa na shida hii ya kutafuta kujua viongozi, kujua wafanyikazi ambao tunawao. Hesabu imefanyika mara mwaka nenda mwaka rudi na tujapata hiyo hesabu. Mimi ningehimiza katika kila kiwango, katika kila idara, kama ni idara ya afya, wafanyikazi walipwe katika idara ya afya. Kama ni popote pale, hata kama ni idara ya masomo, wafanyikazi wanaoajibika katika masomo walipo katika hiyo idara. Maana ofisa tutakayemuita hapa atatupa hesabu kamili ya wale wafanyikazi ambao wanalipa. Lakini wakilipwa katika kitengo kimoja ama katika idara moja, hatutajua hesabu ya wafanyikazi ambao tunawao. Naunga hiyo ripoti mkono. Sisi kama wabunge tuwajibike, na kama bajeti itakuja na wao maafisa watataka pesa, lazima waseme kinaga ubaga wanataka pesa za kufanya nini, na kama watawajibika kufanya kazi na zile pesa ambao tuwapatia. Asante.
Finally, let me have Honorable Moffat because of time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the chairman and the members of the Budget Committee, of which I have a member, for this elaborate report. Mr. Speaker, I want also to thank His Excellency the Governor for sacking some of the officers, transferring some of them, and also giving others some other duties, because by doing so, this county will get development which we want. Mr. Speaker, when we look at the public service quality management and ICT, this committee this assembly gave that department 599 million and some 100,000 of shillings, where it got 5 billion to pay workers remains something of a mystery. Why did they get money from other departments where we did not vote for to pay the 5 billion shillings from? It is time this House starts making some impeachment for these chief officers who are misusing count money. Mr. Speaker, this is another way of stealing public funds, because when they say they are paying salaries, do we know whether they are paying genuine officers or ghost workers? That is something, Mr. Speaker, which must be looked into, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the departments which had high observance rates, like the office, the public service. No, that one I am not commending it because it used money from other departments. Energy used 94%, and that is where we have the Mulikamwizi, and I know almost in every ward we have Mulikamwizi in every market, and I wish to congratulate the officers and the wazir, the minister in that department. Mr. Speaker, if you are given money and you are not utilizing that money, like what is normally done in the National Assembly, if a department is not utilizing the funds given, it is deducted funds in the next year. It is now time, Mr. Speaker, the budget committee deducts the money in this budget, the coming budget, for the departments which have not utilized their funds, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to finish up, Look at, for example, the Department of Health, where we have given 5 billion shillings. And how much money has they utilized? 1 billion. And when I say there is a dispensary, I want them to build a toilet block. They say there is no money. Where is this 4 billion shillings, 5 billion shillings going to? It is time the Germany of Health Committee puts pressure in the minister and his people to do work and utilize these funds, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want lastly to thank the committee, the whole House for supporting this report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, as you heard, we are expecting Engineer Lwanga to be here at 11:30. So I would like the mover of the motion to respond, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to thank the members of this House for their passionate contribution to this report. Again, Honorable Speaker, allow me to make some corrections onto the report that I read on the expenditure performance for the Department of Agriculture. And I'm sorry, Honorable Speaker, we had typo errors. Printed estimates for fiscal year 2018-2019 under agriculture, water and irrigation were 1,168,244,115 Kenya shillings. Revised, sorry members, that is page 11 of the report. Revised estimates for fiscal year 2018-2019 were 1,354,351,787 Kenya shillings. Actual expenditure was 533,922,559. Those were the corrections, Honorable Speaker, that I wanted to make. And that expenditure translated to 39% absorption rate. Honorable Speaker, looking at what honorable members have said about the report and what is evident, Honorable Speaker, it is clear that as a county, we seem to be having inverted physical responsibilities, especially on how we budget for our money. Honorable Speaker, we are budgeting more on recurrent and less on development. Take, for example, Honorable Speaker, on personnel emoluments, the actual expenditure was 50.2%, which surpassed the maximum ceiling of 35%. That is against the PFM Act, Honorable Speaker. I request the Honorable House to be keen on their respective committees that they meet, that they form membership, so that they can put the CEOs into task and play the oversight role well to ensure that the wage bill does not exceed the limits that have been given by law. Honorable Speaker, much has been said in the report about revenue, on-source revenue. And it's my plea that as a House, we play our role in ensuring that we put the executive to task to strengthen revenue streams in order to avoid any loopholes that might see us losing revenue that is meant to benefit our county. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank members and request them to support the report that has been submitted to this House by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dominic Ndambuki, Chairperson, Budget. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House does approve and adopt the report of the Committee on Budget and Appropriation on the County Budget Review and Outlook paper. As many as are that opinion say ayes. Ayes. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay, the ayes have it. Honorable members, just before I conclude, as I announced earlier, we are expecting to be meeting with the CC for Road and Transport, Engineer Alwanga. So as soon as we finish this sitting, get in touch and find out whether he has arrived. If he has arrived, then we'll convert ourselves to General Oversight Committee, and we'll go ahead and question the CC on issues pertaining to roads and development in his department. Some of the issues which have been raised, I think, which I just want to highlight one or two of them, is the issue of the ICT and the money being put in ICT. As a budget committee, I think maybe the chair failed to mention, we did meet with the COB, Control of Budget on Machakos here, and we did ask her, she's a lady, why is it that we are having all salaries going through a specific department, whereas the requisitions which are going to them are going per department. If you look at the report which comes from the Control of Budget, you realize that the requisitions for salaries and wages, when they requisition, they send their requisitions per department. But when they come to do the actual expenditure, they account for it in one department. So we requested the Control of Budget to be more vigilant, and instead of always commending there is need to move, she needs to take action and ensure that those things are being done under the respective departments. One of the things which I would like honorable members to note here is the figure called unspent balances. In that worksheet, you'll see a figure called unspent balances, 1.8 billion. This is balances which are carried forward from one accounting year to the next accounting year. Now, if you do not commit your development funds by tendering and issuance of LPOs, then that money, which was meant to come and do projects under development, at the end of the year is reflected as unspent money. And it is requisitioned for and put in the CRIF. But when the next year comes, that money is absorbed in expenditure. And that is why the Honorable Majority Leader was highlighting that we seem to have overspent money on by 1 billion. You ask yourself, recurrent expenditure, where did the 1 billion come from? When you look at the unspent balances, you find the 1.8 billion there. So it's up to us to ensure that for this year, for example, our funds are committed. The 10 million, the 15 million shillings, let us ensure they get committed before the end of the year, so that whatever balances are carried forward to the next year, those balances are already committed for payment to your projects, and there is no chance for them being moved to recurrent expenditure. Look at revenue streams, they are 31. If you count those revenue streams, they are 31. So yesterday, the Chair of Finance presented here a report on pay bills. So if we have got 31 revenue streams, then we are supposed to be having 31 pay bill numbers, and then anything else becomes a subcode of that pay bill number. So one pay bill number per source of revenue, which you can see is right there. You have the sources that are tabulated inside here. One pay bill number per source, you'll get a total of 31 pay bill numbers. Anything else becomes a subcode to that thing. The under-absorption by the County Assembly, I've noted there is an under-absorption of almost 23%, and that is entirely on development. That is something which you need to ensure when we meet with the County Assembly Service Board, you engage them and find out why are we under-absorbing in our development expenditure. Why are we under-absorbing in our development expenditure? Are we putting monies in development which we don't intend to use? So if you are putting money in development which you don't intend to use, because remember, whatever funds you put in development in the assembly is actually provided for by the executive. It is negotiated between us and the executive what we are going to be gaining for development. And if we don't utilize it, if you put it there and then you don't utilize it, then you denied the other side funds for doing it, and you have also denied yourself. So there is need for that to be looked at. Again, a good question which was put across as a budget committee, because I'm a member and I request the chair. The budget for this year, let us try and focus on giving funds, especially for recurrent expenditure, based on actual absorption. If a department had budgeted for 5 billion and only absorbed 2 billion, then there will be no reason whatsoever why you should give it 5 billion again this year, because the actual which they absorbed was only 2 billion. So maybe the budget committee will need to utilize the actual absorptions as a basis for allocating expenditures this year. And with that, those few comments, honorable members, the House is adjourned to Wednesday, the 11th day of March 2020 at 2:30 p.m. But remember, we are meeting with the CEC Finance shortly. Thank you, honorable members. Enjoy the rest of your morning. CC Roads, sorry. Thanks for the correction. CC Roads.